Say a loved one of yours has a very serious illness, and the only way that they can be helped is by using stem cells. How do you feel about this?
Well, my mom does have one of the rarest cancers in the world. It's called histiocytosis X. She's been fighting it ever since '95. That's why we moved from Texas out to California. See better doctors, and we've talked about it, and she is on the same boat as I am, probably because we're from Texas and we're like that. I don't know why. But if she had the opportunity to get a stem cell research or to fix her problem, she wouldn't take it, even though she'd been on chemotherapy for 7 years, every other month and stuff. She wouldn't take it. So that's my views on it.
According to current medical statistics, the effects of stem cell research after various experiments have not been the best.
Right.
What can you say about this?
Well, I mean, really, when you have a new science, you don't just go out with it and it doesn't hit the ground running. It has to take baby steps. Like DNA. DNA at first was taking baby steps with the whole discovering of everything, and you have to go through a progression. And right now, we're at the beginning of it. It shows great potential, but I mean, you can't just hit the ground running, like I said. But you see now what DNA does, it's the building block of life. We didn't even know about it before. It looked like a little condensation of salt at the bottom of a little glass tube, but now we know that it's a foundation of life, and we can control it to some extent, and we're still learning about it. But stem cell research, we're barely learning about it, but we know that by tracking it, since it's the beginning, we can follow the pathways and understand exactly how everything works and where things can go wrong. But to say that, you know what, it's failed a few times, yeah, it has, but we need to understand exactly how everything works, and there's no better way than to start at the beginning.
Proposition 71 was currently passed in Sacramento, allocating $3 billion of California's funds, which we're already in a deficit, to stem cell research. How do you feel about this?
Like I said before, that's great. I think that what the ban that Bush implemented was completely unethical to me. The fact that he would allow a ban that hinders the progress of science, for me was a slap in the face. And I think that the Proposition 71 is going to allow science to progress, and we're going to be the exemplary state where we take the initiative and we go on and we progress, and people are going to look up to us, and that's going to allow an influx of new scientists with new ideas, allowing this to be the lead of the pack.
I mean, you're gonna hate me for this one, but California's way overpopulated, right? Right? Alright. I mean, why can't we just get out of the deficit for the next however long it's gonna take us, and then start researching and funding the things that we need to fund, like for stem cell research? I mean, that can wait. We're overpopulated.
So you're saying that the $3 billion that have been allocated to stem cell research could have been used to get us out of the deficit?
Yeah, we're only $9 billion in debt, aren't we? That's $3 billion you could have towards that. I mean...
Thank you, both of you.
Thank you.
No problem.
So there you have it, folks. There's everything that youth and government has to offer about stem cells. Hopefully this segment has helped change your views or help you decide on what it is. This is Joseph Wright reporting. So long and good afternoon.
Good evening, delegates. My name is Katie Martinez. We're here at the Supreme Court House where a very special case is taking place. On the night of December 31st, 1999, Phil Felon was pulled over at a drunk driving checkpoint. Officers Daniel DeNavo and Calvin Cooper began to question him, where he refused to answer. After being angered, they violently pulled him out of his car. Things began to get complicated when a gun fell out of his jacket. He blurted out that the weapon was his. As the night progressed, the officers found that a robbery had taken place near the checkpoint where they had pulled Mr. Felon over. The attempted burglary had gone awry when the family returned home. The intruder murdered the family of 4 and quickly escaped. After checking the records, the murder weapon used was found to be a .38 caliber pistol, matching Mr. Felon's gun. When taken to court, a verdict of murder in the first degree was reached in a record-breaking time of 15 minutes. The conviction was reversed on appeal for a number of reasons. Should the officers have let Mr. Felon go that night after they realized he was not drinking? Were any of his constitutional rights violated that night? Is it right to use the gun and his confession as evidence? These questions can only be answered by the Supreme Court justices and attorneys working on the case, where they will also be determining the future of Mr. Philip D. Felon.
The major reason for the appeal is the state feels that during the original appeal, the original appeal ruled in favor of the defendant because they ruled the seizure illegal by the police, and the state feels it was a legal seizure, and therefore the arrest and conviction were valid.
How do you personally feel about the constitutionality laws in question?
They need to be applied to everybody, and if the seizure was legal, then he should go to serve his time, but if it wasn't, he was unfairly prosecuted, and the trial is now invalid.
How many attorneys are on this case?
Well, there are 4 attorneys in all. My partner, my co-counsel and I represent the defendant.
So what role will you be playing?
We'll be defense attorneys.
Oh,
Phil Felon.
we're representing the respondent in question. His case was overturned by the Court of Appeals, and it's being taken further by the state to the Supreme Court. We'll be speaking for him in that issue.
What exactly are the constitutionality laws in question?
One of the major issues is, first of all, the Fourth Amendment rights guaranteed. He was illegally detained at a CHP drunk driving checkpoint. They'd already determined that the defendant was not intoxicated, and therefore, at that point, they should have allowed him to go on. However, without reason for suspicion or probable cause, they continued to search both his person and his vehicle and found a concealed weapon.
We are now about to speak with Dave Wright, a lawyer who has been helping the Supreme Court justices on the case. His advice will help when it comes down to making the final decision.
Virtually all criminal appeals deal with an issue of constitutionality. Your Fourth Amendment rights to be free from unreasonable search and seizure, Fifth Amendment, which is self-incrimination, which comes up in a confession, and your 14th Amendment rights to due process of law oftentimes come up in virtually every criminal case. Those 3 issues were very prominent in the Phil Felon case.